You know, it's funny. We live in a world of like crystal clear audio, noise canceling headphones, music that's like been polished to perfection. Yet there's this whole movement embracing the opposite, the imperfect, the raw, the slightly distorted sounds of what we call lo-fi music. And chances are you've encountered it, maybe while studying, scrolling through social media, or even just trying to unwind. Today we're going deep on lo-fi music. And I've got an expert here to help us unpack not just what it is, but why it seems to have struck such a chord, especially in our modern world.
Yeah. What's fascinating is how lo-fi taps into this kind of larger cultural shift. This craving for lo-fi isn't just in music. Think about the popularity of vintage clothing, film photography, that worn-in feel. It's like we're yearning for something authentic in a digital world that often feels too perfect, too curated. And lo-fi music, with its deliberate imperfections, provides that rawness.
So before we go any further, let's break down what lo-fi actually means. I mean, I've heard it stands for low fidelity, but what does that really mean in terms of how this music sounds?
Right. Low fidelity means it's all about embracing those sonic imperfections. Think about the soft crackle of a vinyl record, the hiss of tape, or those slightly distorted sounds that give it a raw, almost unpolished feel. And these aren't mistakes. Lo-fi artists often incorporate everyday sounds into their tracks, like
Yeah.
the distant hum of a train passing by, or the gentle rustling of leaves.
It's like they're intentionally adding those little imperfections to make the music feel more organic, more real. I've always loved how lo-fi artists incorporate those everyday sounds. It's like they're painting a sonic picture of the world around us, flaws and all.
Exactly. It's not just about the absence of polish, but the addition of texture and realism, and musically. Lo-fi often uses specific techniques to achieve this sound. Think of those warm, mellow bass lines, often created with vintage synthesizers, or the use of old jazz samples, sometimes sped up or slowed down to create new and interesting textures.
It's like taking something old and breathing new life into it. And speaking of old, doesn't lo-fi rely heavily on samples from older genres of music? I've heard that jazz plays a huge influence.
Absolutely. You'll hear elements of jazz, soul, even boom-bap hip-hop woven into lo-fi tracks. And that's another part of its appeal, that sense of familiarity, that connection to musical traditions that came before.
You know what else is familiar? That iconic Lofi Girl live stream. The animated student with her headphones, perpetually studying to a chill beat. I feel like that image is everywhere these days. Was that really the tipping point for lo-fi hitting the mainstream?
The Lo-Fi Girl phenomenon on YouTube definitely played a part. It provided a visual identity for the genre, making it more accessible and shareable. But what fueled its explosion on YouTube, Spotify, and social media was that yearning for a sonic escape, a space for calm and focus in our hyper-connected world.
So it's not just about the music itself, it's about what it represents, the feeling it evokes, like finding a quiet corner in a noisy world.
Precisely. And speaking of feeling, this is where it gets really interesting, because lo-fi's appeal goes beyond just sounding nice.
Yeah.
There's growing body of research suggesting it can actually impact our mental and emotional state.
Really? I've definitely noticed that when I listen to lo-fi, I feel more relaxed, more focused. But I always thought that was just me. Are you telling me there's science behind this?
There is. Studies have shown that listening to certain types of music, including lo-fi, can actually alter brainwaves patterns, inducing states of relaxation and focus. It has to do with the tempo, often around 60-80 beats per minute, which mimics a resting heart rate, and the melodic structure often relies on simple, repetitive chord progressions, creating a sense of predictability and ease.
It's like the music is giving your brain a break from overthinking, allowing it to settle into a more peaceful rhythm. I know I've always been skeptical of that whole music affecting your brainwaves thing, but I gotta admit, when I put on lo-fi to work, something does shift in my mind. It's less about thinking, more about feeling.
And that shift, that ability to tap into a different mode of being, that's what's drawing so many people to lo-fi,
Yeah.
especially in our fast-paced, always-on world. It offers a way to disconnect from the noise and reconnect with ourselves.
So it's not just about relaxation. It's almost like a form of mindfulness, helping us be more present in the moment.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the concept of flow state. Have you ever experienced that feeling of being so absorbed in an activity that time seems to melt away?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like when I'm writing. And the words just seem to flow effortlessly.
Exactly. That's flow state. And lo-fi, with its repetitive beats and lack of distracting lyrics, can actually help facilitate that state, allowing us to achieve a deeper level of focus and creativity.
Interesting. So it's not just about zoning out, it's about zoning in a way.
Yeah.
focusing our attention more effectively. I can see why this would be appealing to anyone who needs to concentrate, like students or people working from home.
You're right. And this leads us to another fascinating aspect of lo-fi, its potential as a tool for mental wellness. While it's not a replacement for therapy or medication, many people are finding that lo-fi can help them manage stress, anxiety, and even improve their sleep.
It's like a sonic self-care routine. And it makes sense, right? If this music can shift our brainwaves towards a state of calm and focus, it stands to reason that it could have positive effects on our overall mental well-being.
Precisely. And it's not just about the science. There's a powerful emotional component at play here, too.
Like what?
Well, we talked about lo-fi's connection to older genres of music. For many people, those sounds evoke a sense of nostalgia, a longing for simpler times. And in a world that often feels overwhelming and uncertain, that feeling of nostalgia can be incredibly comforting.
You know, that's so true. I remember reading somewhere that those vinyl crackles and samples from old records can actually trigger a sense of comfort and familiarity, like a musical hug from the past.
Exactly. It's like the music is tapping into our collective memory, reminding us of a time when things felt less complicated, less demanding. And in a world that's constantly pushing us to do more, be more, achieve more, that sense of grounding can be incredibly powerful.
Wow, I never thought about it that way. But it makes so much sense. So we've got calm, we've got focus, we've got nostalgia. It's like the ultimate trifecta for surviving in the modern world. But it goes even deeper than that.
Yeah.
There's this whole visual aspect to the lo-fi experience that we haven't even touched on yet.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to talk about that. Um,
Yeah.
the visuals are a huge part of lo-fi's appeal. Think about those looping animations we often see paired with lo-fi tracks. The girl studying, the cat curled up on a windowsill, rain falling on a city street. It's all about creating a mood, an atmosphere that complements the music.
It's funny because the visuals themselves are often quite simple, almost minimalist. But when paired with the music, they create this incredibly immersive experience. It's like they're tapping into that same longing for simplicity and authenticity that we talked about earlier.
Absolutely. And it's not just about aesthetics. Those visuals often depict scenes of solitude, quiet contemplation, everyday moments of peace. It's like they're providing a visual representation of the mental state that lo-fi music is trying to cultivate.
It's like creating a little world you can escape to, even if just for a few minutes. And it's interesting because unlike a music video with a specific narrative, those lo-fi animations are often open to interpretation. Each viewer can project their own experiences and emotions onto them.
That's a great point. It allows for a more personal connection with the music. It's
Yeah.
not just about passively consuming. It's about actively engaging with the art and creating your own meaning.
And speaking of engagement, we can't talk about lo-fi without mentioning the incredible community that has sprung up around it. It's not just about listening to the music, it's about connecting with other people who share that love for chill vibes and sonic exploration.
Yeah, the community aspect is really what sets lo-fi apart from many other genres. Platforms like SoundCloud and Bandcamp have become hubs for aspiring lo-fi producers to share their work, collaborate with each other. You receive feedback from listeners. It's incredibly democratic and accessible.
It's like a giant online jam session where everyone is welcome to contribute and inspire each other. And I love how supportive the lo-fi community is. It feels very genuine and encouraging, unlike some other online spaces that can be quite competitive and critical.
Right. It's a true testament to the power of music to bring people together, to foster a sense of belonging and shared purpose. And this sense of community extends beyond the digital realm. Lo-fi events and meetups are popping up in cities around the world, giving people a chance to connect face-to-face and experience the music together in a live setting.
It's like a whole subculture is emerging, built around this shared love for chill beats and a slower pace of life. And it's not just limited to musicians, visual artists, graphic designers, even fashion designers are drawing inspiration from the lo-fi aesthetic, creating a whole lifestyle movement that goes beyond the music itself.
It's fascinating to see how this music that started as a relatively niche genre has become such a powerful cultural force. And I think it speaks to a deep-seated need in our modern society for something that offers a counterpoint to the constant hustle and grind, the pressure to always be productive and connected.
It's like lo-fi is offering us permission to slow down, to disconnect, to simply be. And in a world that's constantly bombarding us with information and demands, that permission can be incredibly liberating.
You know, when we think about it, the whole concept of low fidelity can be applied to more than just music. It's about embracing imperfection in all aspects of life, letting go of the need for everything to be polished and perfect. It's about finding beauty in the raw, the unfiltered, the authentic.
It's a really interesting way to think about it. So maybe lo-fi isn't just a genre of music, it's a philosophy, a way of approaching life with a more mindful and accepting attitude.
I think you're onto something there. And perhaps that's why it's resonating so deeply with so many people, especially young people who are coming of age in a world that can feel increasingly overwhelming and uncertain. Lo-fi offers a sense of peace, a sense of grounding, a reminder that it's okay to slow down and breathe.
And it's not just about escaping from the world, it's about finding a way to exist in the world in a more balanced and mindful way. And that's a message that I think we can all benefit from hearing, regardless of our age or musical preferences.
Absolutely. And as we delve deeper into the implications of lo-fi for mental well-being, this concept of mindfulness becomes even more crucial. Remember how we talked about those scientific studies showing how lo-fi can alter brainwave patterns? Well, it turns out that those same brainwave patterns are associated with mindfulness meditation.
So, in a way, listening to lo-fi can be like a form of sonic meditation.
Precisely. It can help us train our minds to be more present, more aware, and less reactive to the constant stream of thoughts and emotions. That can often feel overwhelming. And this ability to cultivate a state of mindfulness has been shown to have a wide range of benefits for mental health, from reducing stress and anxiety to improving focus and emotional regulation.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like lo-fi is giving us a sonic shortcut to mindfulness, making it more accessible and enjoyable for people who might
Mhm.
not be drawn to traditional meditation practices.
And it's not just about individual well-being. Imagine a world where more people were able to access this state of calm and clarity. How might that impact our relationships, our communities, even the way we approach global challenges?
That's a really powerful thought. It's like lo-fi has the potential to not only transform our individual lives, but also to create a ripple effect of peace and mindfulness throughout society.
And as the lo-fi movement continues to evolve and expand, it will be fascinating to see how this potential unfolds. Will we see more integration of lo-fi into therapeutic settings? Will it be incorporated into educational curricula to help students focus and learn more effectively? Will it inspire new forms of art and expression that further promote peace and understanding?
These are some big questions, and it's exciting to think about the possibilities, but for now, let's bring it back to the individual listener, the person who might be discovering lo-fi for the first time. What would you say to them?
I would say, embrace the chill. Allow yourself to be transported by the music. Let go of any preconceived notions about what music should be, and simply allow yourself to experience the sonic landscape of lo-fi with an open mind and an open heart.
I love that. Embrace the chill. It's such a simple yet profound invitation, and it really encapsulates the essence of what lo-fi is all about. It's amazing to think about how this music, born from like a love of imperfection and simplicity, has sparked such a global movement. It's more than just a genre. It's a community, a lifestyle, a philosophy even.
Yeah, it really speaks to the power of music to tap into something deeper, something universal, that yearning for calm, for connection, for a little bit of solace in a world that often feels chaotic and overwhelming.
And it's accessible to anyone. You don't need expensive equipment or years of musical training to appreciate lo-fi. Just hit play and let the vibes wash over you.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most profound experiences come from the simplest things, stripping away the excess, embracing the raw and unfiltered, and allowing ourselves to just be.
I think that's what I find so appealing about lo-fi. It's a permission slip to slow down, to disconnect from digital noise and reconnect with ourselves.
And that reconnection can be so powerful. It can help us tap into our creativity, improve our focus, and cultivate a sense of inner peace that can ripple outward into our relationships and communities.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of lo-fi, I'm left with this feeling of hope. Like maybe, just maybe, this music is a sign that we're starting to shift our priorities to value stillness and presence in a world that's constantly pushing us to do more, be more, achieve more.
It's a beautiful thought, isn't it? That this music, with its imperfections and its nostalgia, might actually be paving the way for a more mindful and balanced future.
So if you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, or just in need of a moment of calm, I encourage you to explore the world of lo-fi. Find a track that resonates with you, put on your headphones, and let yourself be transported.
You might be surprised at how quickly those gentle beats and soothing melodies can help you find your center, reclaim a sense of peace, and rediscover the beauty and simplicity.
And that's it for our deep dive into the world of lo-fi music. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to check out some of the artists and tracks we mentioned if you want to keep the chill vibes going.
And remember, embrace the chill.